Sometime in 2021.
Hey, Sony exec Mikey.
Oh, hello, fellow Sony exec Tim.
Hey, what's up with the tiny desk and the gaming chair?
Budget cuts, Tim. Budget cuts. Can I help you, or did you come just to give me these trivial questions?
Sorry. That Morbius film, with the Jared Leto fella. Is there a Spider-Man reference in it?
Of course! Spider-Man's our big moneymaker. Even that crappy third one. Actually, I kinda like that one.
Alright, I'm not here to ask you favorite films. I'm here to ask you if Spider-Man's in the movie. Or at least a Spider-Man connection. I mean, we've been talking about a Spider universe for years. They just have the Spider people and the Spider-Man villains and stuff.
Yes, there's gonna be a Spider-Man connection. He might even pop up at the end. There has to be.
I'm sorry, it's just getting really confusing with the, we have Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Venom going on. Are they in the same world? Is this its own world? Is Morbius starting its own new thing? Like, what's going on here?
That's classified. I don't want to spoil the movie for you.
Okay, good.
Probably in the Venomverse or whatever we're making. I don't know. I don't pay attention.
I didn't think we had a plan there for a second. I'm glad we have a whole plan coming together.
Sometime post Spider-Man No Way Home.
Hey Mikey, Spider-Man No Way Home's making a bunch of money. It's a big hit. It was such a good idea we put in those three Spider fellas in together. We do have a Spider-Man reference in that movie, right?
Of course! We're making our own Spider-Verse. We'll have Marvel feeding out of the palm of our hand soon enough.
Okay, good.
A few days later.
Mikey, the movie's making over $1 billion. It's almost one of the biggest movies to ever release. Can you believe that, Mikey? I can't believe it. We have a Spider-Man movie, and then we have a Morbius movie to start connecting our own universe. It's gonna, oh my, we get him with the 1-2. Oh, this is the best plan we've ever had.
Oh, Tim, Sony exec Tim. We are in big trouble, Tim.
What? Why?
We might want to delay the movie. We need to add some scenes in.
You can't be serious.
We will need to delay the movie, push back its release date, and
serious, Mikey.
And we might need to do some reshoots.
Add some scenes? You said we had the Spider-Man reference in this movie.
Not connected, Tim. I didn't know people would like that movie.
Mikey, it's a Spider-Man movie full of Spider-Men. What were you thinking, Mikey?
How should I know? I'm not the general public.
Mikey, we're losing money here.
We have royally screwed our pooch.
Morbius is a movie. I guess you could say that. So Jared Leto's The Batman is Sony's latest attempt to make a Spider-Man cinematic universe without the Spider-Man, as they once again introduce a famous Spider-Man villain, but then turn him into an anti-hero. This time featuring a vampire man-bat thing. This being a follow-up to Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, technically. The movie follows Dr. Michael Morbius as he searches for let me see if I can look up the actual name. Oh wait, no, there's not a name for it, but he does have a rare blood disease that leaves him crutch-bound before gambling on a risky solution that ends up being kind of successful. I don't know why I did jazz hands. It's kind of successful. Except for the part it turns him into a vampire? My experience with Morbius growing up was we had this volume of the 90s Spider-Man animated series on DVD, and it was featuring Morbius, like he was on the cover, and it was like a few of his arcs. He turned into Morbius in like the episodes leading up to it, but then it was like a full little adventure with him and vampires and Blade the Vampire Hunter. I remember him being more straight up a vampire, unlike this like vampire Batman hybrid thing that's seen in the movie, which is interesting. But I'm no expert. I'm not a Morbius super fan, so maybe that's always been a thing. Yeah, this movie is pretty bad. I'm not gonna beat around the bush, or bite around the neck, as one might say. Because that would be disgusting. I mean, to start out, the pacing is really fast, like at breakneck speed, to the point that I got a little, I broke my neck. I ended up getting a lot of whiplash because it just cuts and cuts and cuts between scene to scene, just skipping through events, because they're like, all right, so he was a kid, yeah, he was in an orphanage, he has a disease, he made a friend with a disease, and he's trying to find out the cure for this disease. But let's skip all that and let's get to the good stuff. So it's really jarring with how they edit and cut through his early life up to his origin. It's so fast, and it makes the movie feel like it's missing a lot of key scenes, or at least, scenes that would help better detail the plot, because it just seems like this whole script or this whole like first draft got gutted or something, because vampire joke, because it just feels messy. The special effects are also hit or miss, as I felt the vampire sonar vision like looked really cool, like with all the mist and the kinetic energy you could see like bouncing off different devices and things in the environment. It gives the scenes a lot of color and makes the visuals really pop. The problem is, once they get into more of the fighting and the quick agile like nature of the vampire fights, it becomes really messy, like End of Venom, the two giant goop monsters fighting each other messy, where they have to slow down to a slow-mo shot every once in a while, and sometimes it looks cool, sometimes it looks really bad, and it's just the only way you can actually tell what's going on, because they're probably like, oh, we're going through all these scenes and now we have to have people actually see what's going on in this movie. But yeah, it becomes an over-reliance on slow-mo in my opinion. Also, I think they should have not did CGI faces for the vampires, because it comes off kind of goofy sometimes and cheesy, just the way they're animated, and it doesn't look real, it's CGI and stuff. I feel like they should have gone practical, because at least there'd be that realistic feel, and maybe they could have made it look more intimidating instead of some weird CGI cartoon type thing. But yeah, sometimes the effects on them look very goofy and cheesy and kind of cringe. Jared Leto tries his best with the script he's given. At times it seems like he's put in an alright performance, like being able to sell the cold nature of being the methodical doctor, and then having like little hints of humanity, showing that Morbius is more of an anti-hero in this version than a villain. And you really see that compassion. But yeah, it can't save him from a crappy script. So maybe if there was a different script, a different movie, he would have done a good job. But it just is what it is. But yeah, he was also doing good until he was forced into making weird one-liner jokes and stuff. It's like his personality just flipped, and he has to be this like action-y hero, cracking awkward jokes like some unfunny uncle. And you don't want that. You want the funny uncle to come over, not the weird, cringy, slightly sexist uncle. Matt Smith, who plays the villain, on the other hand, is like hamming it up. Like, this is the most camp I've seen in a performance in a long time. It's the campiest performance. As he plays Morbius's childhood friend, and also fellow unnamed rare blood disorder fan club member, Milo, or at least that's what they call him. They wanted to ignore his real name, Lucius Crown or something. He comes in and Morbius is like, yeah, you're like Milo the Third now. That's your name and you're going to stick with it. And he's just like, okay, that sounds good. He gives a really crazy and hammy performance once he turns into a vampire himself, as he constantly has these dumb jokes and does some funny dancing and gives out vampire meal plan monologues as he's trying to convince Morbius to become a full vampire. So while hamming it up and having a good time, he does come off pretty cringy at points. Also, the movie is never clear on how he got rich, because apparently this kid just grew up with this horrible disorder, just one day became rich or something. So the audience just has to accept that. So he's a rich guy. Bro, while I was looking up his name, he came up with his real name in the comics called The Hunger. I guess Milo's not that bad after all. While I haven't watched the movies themselves, Tyrese Gibson from the Fast and the Furious movies plays the serious detective when usually he's more of a comedian actor. So it's kind of weird that he's given a serious role and then he has an unfunny partner that gives the worst, just like meh jokes in a movie. He hints at, and he has some type of prosthetic or like cybernetically enhanced arm, and they never do anything with that. I think even in the trailers there was a scene where it shows, there's a scene where they end up using that, but that was cut out, so they literally wasted a cool aspect of his character. Like, I don't know if he was supposed to do more or like have his own action scenes. It's dumb. But yeah, most of the cast seems half asleep except for Matt Smith, who seems to be hopped up on cocaine. So that's the scale of acting going on here. You know what this means. It's time to hop into a few spoilers. I won't go too much into it. I don't want to waste your time like this movie might. Again, I'd like to mention I liked some of the special effects and the vampire vision scenes. Like, I liked how he can feel the flight air coming in, and I really enjoyed that flight scene, or at least was going to before they cut it just randomly. Okay, here's my biggest question. What's up with the girlfriend here? The love interest being into blood or something? Because okay. Clearly at the end she was bitten or something, and so now she's going to become a vampire. That was obvious, but earlier in the movie, she cuts her finger on like a tuna can or something trying to feed her cat. She ends up like she drinks it, or she doesn't, you know, she puts it in her mouth. She puts the bloody finger in her mouth. What was up with that? Is it from being around someone she's attracted to, being a vampire, that she's starting to get into blood? Or is she just into blood? I don't know. Is it hinting at that she may have had already started to become a vampire thing before it even showed it? Also, the movie's crappy at showing that Matt Smith's character ends up taking some of the cure that turns him into a vampire, because from my perspective, I just saw him look at the stuff and walk off, and then the next scene he shows up in, he's super powered. Like, you couldn't have at least shown something with that, or at least a scene in between. Also, the mentor character was completely wasted in this movie. Like, he was barely there and only taking care of Milo, which, I don't know, it just seems like a waste of that type of character. Alright, and then I have to get into what most people are probably going to see this movie for, which is the Spider-Man connections. I mean, it's a Spider-Man villain. You know, it's a Spider-Man villain in a Spider-Man movie post Spider-Man No Way Home by Sony. So you'd be wondering, oh, what are they doing? Are they going to start putting something together? Are they going to bring back Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire and something? There's even like hints in the trailers and stuff. Well, apparently those were never in the movie, since I guess the execs at Sony were like, let's put that in to get them hyped up, but then take them out last second. Matter of fact, the director ended up commenting that he was confused why the trailers had Spider-Man imagery in it, when he's like, I didn't put that in my movie. It's like, what? So the after credit scene with Vulture showing up from the Rift thing, which is, how did he even get there, since all the Spider-Man villains supposedly are being transported back to their own dimensions, but it's not his own dimension. It's like Sony wants to be starting to create a universe, but they want some of the actors from the MCU to give it like validity. So they bring in Michael Keaton, who says a dumb joke. It's dumb, but I kind of liked it, honestly. I don't know why. How's it go? I hope there's better food in this joint. Like, it was so dumb, and well, apparently they're shooting a bunch of scenes for this movie, and he's originally supposed to be littered throughout, just like the trailers kind of hint at. But then Sony was like, oh gosh, we just realized, oh, we forgot to put in any Spider-Man references, but we can't interrupt the movie. We're making this 2003-esque movie. We have to, let's cut all his scenes down and put it at the end, and just hope that the fans like it. And they like after credit scenes, right? They have to like after credit scenes. I mean, yeah, Marvel stuff. But yeah, that whole sequence was sloppily cut. Him showing up and the news reporters being like, oh snap, there's a mysterious Adrian Toomes here. They did not sound like that. I do not know why I did that accent. But then they cut to a second after credits scene where Morbius meets out in the middle of the desert, and here comes the Vulture and his upgraded costume, which I actually kind of liked. It's kind of interesting, and I'd like to see it more in action. Just the way they edited his like voiceover and how they edited whoever was in the suit was like really weird looking. But I liked his upgraded suit where it's like the rocket boosters almost on his hands and stuff, like he's learned his lesson from Spider-Man Homecoming. I also like the accented beak where it almost looks like a vulture head. The mask almost looks like a vulture head. And he's just like, hey, let's put together a team. This weird thing has to do with Spider-Man. And Morbius is just like, interesting. It was a rough dialogue, and of course, Sony's been wanting this forever. Since Amazing Spider-Man 2, they've been wanting to make a Sinister Six movie. Why? Why don't you email them and ask? I'm sure we'll all know eventually. email leaks. But yeah, how they set up Morbius to be this anti-hero and honestly at the end kind of like a full-on hero. Why would he want to be part of a team to go kill a random guy? Like, they're painting themselves into a corner. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. That's how you say it, right? Yeah, okay. Yes, have their cake and eat it too. But yeah, at the end, it's just weird and awkward and sloppy. So to round things up, this movie, it's not that great. It's not good, really, either. If you're a casual moviegoer, you might enjoy it a little more. I don't know. If you just, want to be entertained by something, it might entertain you. I legit don't know. This is definitely on the lower spectrum of movies coming out this year, though. I'd call it totally skippable, which that's pretty sucky. There's cringy dialogue, funny looking effects, average acting from some, horrible acting by others, hammy acting by one. It feels like a superhero movie we would have gotten in like 2003 or the early 2000s, where they're still trying to figure out superhero movies, or even got confused and just didn't know how to make a good movie. But yeah, this one's totally skippable. I give it a 3.5 out of 10, maybe a 4 if I'm feeling generous. Maybe a 2. I don't know. It's not that great. It's going to be interesting seeing what Sony has in store for this little universe. They're making a Kraven the Hunter movie with the guy from Kick-Ass and Avengers Age of Ultron. But yeah, Sony better learn fast. This has been just another reviewer. Go watch the 90s Spider-Man episodes instead. I'm sure you can look it up if you really want to know what Morbius is about. I might even, just to see if he's an actual vampire or not. I mean, they call him the living vampire, but apparently he's not. He's more of a Batman. Again, Jared Leto's the Batman, coming to theaters. But yeah, I'll catch you next time. More movies are coming out. We're getting closer to the summer season, so should be interesting. Should be filled with hits, probably a few misses, and probably some very mediocre stinkers. So, see you then.
Tim, we are in deep doo-doo.